July 16th, 1945, 5:29 a.m. In a desolate patch of New Mexico desert, the world is about to change forever. The culmination of the Manhattan Project, a weapon of unimaginable power, is seconds from being unleashed. We all know the story of the men who watched from bunkers, the scientists who quoted scripture as they witnessed their terrible creation. But this isn't their story. This is the story of the people who didn't have bunkers, the people who were just 12 miles away, fast asleep in their beds, the American families who were about to become the first and most forgotten victims of the atomic age. For the residents of Tularosa, Carrizozo, and other small New Mexico communities, the day began not with a warning, but with a false sun. A light so bright it was seen across 3 states, followed by a roar that shook windows from their frames. The military's official story? An ammunition dump had accidentally exploded. A convenient lie to mask an inconvenient truth. But for the people on the ground, the experience was biblical. Many thought it was the end of the world. The ground shook for minutes. The blast wave was so powerful it knocked men off their feet over 100 miles away. And then came the cloud. A terrifying, beautiful column of purple, yellow, and orange light, climbing miles into the sky. It was a spectacle. And then the spectacle began to fall. A greasy, white, flaky substance blanketed everything. It covered the gardens where families grew their food. It flowed into the open cisterns and water tanks, their only source of drinking water for the dry months ahead. Children, having never seen snow, ran outside to play in it, making ash angels on the ground. They tasted its metallic grit, unaware they were ingesting a cocktail of deadly radioactive isotopes like plutonium and strontium-90. No one knew what it was, but 60 miles away, scientists at Los Alamos knew. They called it fallout, and their own monitoring equipment showed it was hotter than they ever predicted. The most immediate and horrifying signs of the fallout came not from the people, but from their animals. Ranchers reported cattle with hides burned raw, their hair falling out. But the truly monstrous effect appeared the following spring. It was the season of miracle babies. Calves, lambs, and foals were born with shocking deformities. Some had 5 legs, others had 2 heads, or oversized glassy eyes. Chickens were hatching without feathers. These were not miracles. They were mutations caused by intense genetic damage from the radiation. The ranchers, seeing their livelihoods destroyed, were offered pennies on the dollar by the government for their ruined livestock, under the condition that they sign non-disclosure agreements. The wall of silence was being built, brick by brick. Frightened citizens who tried to report these events were met with intimidation. They were visited by government men in dark suits, G-men, who told them to keep quiet for the sake of national security. Asking too many questions could get you labeled a communist sympathizer during the tense Cold War era. So, they suffered in silence, a community bound by a secret they didn't fully understand. Then came the cancers: thyroid cancer, stomach cancer, leukemias, striking down healthy people and, most tragically, children at rates that defied all logic. It became a grim routine. Every family knew another family that had the sickness. Let's look at the data. In a typical American community, the rate of thyroid cancer is roughly 15 cases per 100,000 people. In the communities downwind of Trinity, studies have documented rates exponentially higher. This wasn't bad luck. This was a statistically proven epidemic. Consider the story of the Tellez family. Henry Tellez was just 4 years old when the ash fell. He remembers playing in it. By age 12, he was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Then his sister was diagnosed, then his other sister. 3 siblings, all with cancer, all living under the shadow of that single secret event. Their story was not unique. It was the terrifying norm. And while these families suffered, the government stayed silent. Internal memos from the Manhattan Project show that top officials, including General Leslie Groves, knew about the potential for fallout and the dangers to civilians. But the secrecy of the atomic bomb project was deemed more important than American lives. For decades, the Downwinders' suffering was invisible. Their plight was dismissed, their illnesses blamed on genetics or lifestyle. But they didn't give up. Led by courageous activists like Tina Cordova, whose own family was ravaged by cancer, they began to organize. They collected stories, medical records, and oral histories, building an undeniable mountain of evidence. Their fight culminated in the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, or RECA, passed in 1990. It was a landmark victory, an admission by the government that it was responsible. But it contained a cruel, heartbreaking injustice. The act provided compensation for downwinders in Nevada and Utah from later tests, but it completely excluded the people of New Mexico. The very first victims of the very first atomic bomb were left out, their suffering still officially unrecognized. The fight for the Trinity downwinders continues to this very day. For nearly 80 years, they have been asking for two simple things: compensation for the medical bills that have bankrupted them, and an apology, an official acknowledgement of what was done to them in the name of national security. The release of the movie Oppenheimer has brought new global attention to their cause. Bills are once again being introduced in Congress to amend RECA and finally include the Trinity families. But for many, time is running out. The generation that witnessed the flash, that played in the ash, is nearly gone. The story of the Downwinders is a haunting reminder that the cost of war and progress is never just measured in geopolitics or scientific achievement. It's measured in the quiet suffering of families, in communities poisoned by secrets, and in the decades-long echo of a single, terrible dawn. Their voices were silenced for generations, but now, the world is finally starting to listen. And our mission on this channel is to make sure these voices are never forgotten again. If you believe that history's hidden stories deserve to be told, then join us on this journey by subscribing. We have so much more to uncover together.